So here's the Chicago Board of Trade, or CBOT. And so this should be going 24 hours a day. And so this means this value of this building and this real estate, and then the places down here, like there's a McDonald's right over here. And I'll show you closer, but the McDonald's would need to be open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Things are going to be, as you can see here, and I got a car coming, but I was going to show you, it says the Chicago Board of Trade, but you have this McDonald's here. And things like this is the courtyard, and you have the little bridge that goes over to the CBOE, the Chicago Board of Options Exchange. The CBOT and CBORD are attached right here across from each other. And so you have this here, and now with the explosion in overnight trading globally, you would assume that they're hitting on, all cylinders, right? Feeding into Chicago economic prosperity, right? Because doing the other and being closed, well, how many billions and trillions of dollars are you going to leave on the table? And you say people can't get better off, but that's only because you stopped the opportunity for them getting better off. And here you go. Let's see. There's the symbol right there. And that's for the CBOE, the Chicago Board of Options Exchange. And it should be right here. You have the symbol again right here, but no name. So, and then you got, I think across the street is the Chicago Stock Exchange, and that, I think, is in this building right here. This is all on Financial Place. So they all connect right here. And so you have the Chicago Trading Company. So the CTC, the Chicago Trading Company, is right here. And I'll show you. Let me move over. Here you have, right here, 425 South Financial Place at Gateway Plaza. And so this is the Chicago Stock Exchange. And then you have the trading company right here. Let me zoom in so you can see that Chicago Trading Company. And so you have the plaza here for that, and then the rest down Financial Way down that way. So, and then here's the street that goes through South Financial, but again, Dunkin' Donuts not open. So my whole point is, and this leads down the Wacker Drive, and on Wacker Drive you have the Mercantile Exchange. So they need to figure out how to integrate these exchanges better. How you can integrate the Mercantile with the Chicago Board of Options Exchange and the Chicago Board of Trade. They need to start thinking about how they can come together and be more of a one seamless system. Still separate organizations, but they have to have boards of these organizations The Mercantile Exchange, their board, like my one client, Joyce, she was a board member. And the board of the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, working with the board of the Chicago Board of Options Exchange and the Chicago Board of Trade. And they need to sit together and meet, I think, at least once a week. And they need to look at how to further it. And this is where, right here in the old post office, I said this is an expansion for the cryptocurrency. We can open up our own cryptocurrency exchange. And right here in the old post office, again, this is where all the exchanges are, and the swap market can go in here. And so you see the CBOT right there. Here's the CBOT. And then the other groups like PepsiCo and that. But there's the CBOT, Chicago Board of Options Exchange. And so it can go in there and we can get a cryptocurrency exchange going, an international cryptocurrency exchange, having all the different cryptocurrencies listed. And it can be a Forex too. It can be Forex and cryptocurrency. So currencies of the countries and the cryptocurrencies from around the world on one exchange. So it's cryptocurrency and currency. Cryptocurrency and currency exchange, or complete Forex. Forex should include cryptocurrency. And we can open up that complete exchange down here. Remember, more transactions go through the Forex market than the exchanges do in a year. They do like in a day in transaction. So remember that. There is so much volume on the Forex market. It is incredible. So opening up a crypto and Forex, a currency exchange, crypto and non-crypto exchange here would be the smart thing to do, and build it out. And who can take an interest? Well, the Mercantile Exchange, the Chicago Board of Trade, and the Chicago Options Exchange can all take an interest, invest in it, build it out, and they have a third of each of them invest a third in it and build it out. And we can have an international currency exchange. The futures are already there and there. We're talking just an exchange to move Forex in real time, the spot markets. It's a spot market exchange. And so here we're down here on Wacker. And so Wacker Drive is where David Letterman said the Playboy building should go. So it is a self-pleasing statement. So anyways, what can go here, truly on Wacker Drive, this is the end of Wacker Drive, it goes down, but we need to start attaching these exchanges. And again, you can see right over here the old post office, and it would be incredible to open up this Forex exchange on an international basis and have every currency and cryptocurrency in the world moving through it in real-time spot markets. So I'm going to show you where the Chicago Mercantile Exchange is. And the most prominent building on this street, Sears Tower, Willis Tower, right here. This is the most prominent building on this street, Wacker Drive. This is the iconic building, the Sears Tower. So again, and the Sears Tower can have all kinds of antennas at the top, receiving microwave and even laser and other forms of communication, since it's the tallest building. But here is the CME, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange Group. And again, like I said, the three of them need to be meeting on a weekly basis. And they need to start planning out where they are and where they're going and how they can further work together to further each of their expansions. Because they do integrate and they do work together. And so the boards, the three boards, they need to meet on a weekly basis, whether electronically or physically. But they need to be mapping out their future and working on their future and doing risk management on a weekly basis. So again, we have this, and Chicago has this ability to expand greatly. And here is Meyer Brown right here, one of the large law firms in Chicago. And I would assume they get into all things financial, right? It would only make sense. So you can see it right there on the building. Let me roll down the window a little bit. Put on the flashers. And you can't quite see it. I can see it with my eyes, but I can't see it through the phone. But it says Chicago Mercantile Exchange Center. Chicago Mercantile Exchange Center, but up above it, it says Chicago Mercantile Exchange Group. So, again, right next door, you think they would be going to the Lyric Opera, getting some culture. I went to an opera, Swinging Todd, and I liked the opera. I enjoyed it a lot. I would have went more, but again, me and Jen separated, and 2005 was a bad year. 4 was starting to get, but when people do you wrong, life gets really bad. Like Miss Park, right? There's UBS over here, and Miss Park, she paid the Chinese broker to help her and her mother, and what did he do? He went bad on the deal, and he ended up raping her mother and selling them off into slavery and sex slavery and so on. And your life gets miserable when people screw you. So we have Bank of America, and they need to integrate under the Bank of America Merrill Lynch. See the Bank of America? Right there? They need to put under it Bank of America Merrill Lynch. They need to integrate that on all their branches. Bank of America Merrill Lynch. And you can get a Merrill Lynch rep where? In the Bank of America branch. They own Merrill Lynch. It's just like Chase has their brokers in their bank. So I forget what their, financial is called. Chase something. But the Chase Banks has their stuff. I used to help a Chase Bank guy on the one on Clybourne. I went over stuff with him. Just sharing information with him. But again, Chase has theirs, and I forget what it's called, but it should be right there under their name. And so it should be Bank of America Merrill Lynch. And so you see here, you can see it here, right here, in this sign. Let's see if we can get some clarity. But on top of this sign, And I'll go around. I'll make a U. Since they got the stop, I got the green. So you have it right here. And let me show it to you. Right there. So Bank of America, Merrill Lynch. And that's what their sign says. Merrill, a Bank of America company, but you just want Bank of America, Merrill Lynch. When it's separate in their paperwork, when they send out their statements and that, it says Merrill, a Bank of America company. When they get their statements, Bank of America company under it. So every time Merrill Lynch does something, it brands Bank of America. So when they send it out, it's Merrill, a Bank of America company. It's like Signature powered by John Hancock. So on the statements, Signature is the broker-dealer, and when the statements go out, it says Signature, and below it, powered by John Hancock. And so, and that means, all of John Hancock Life and their John Hancock funds and so on, which I met lots of people from John Hancock funds. They have good funds. They have good mutual funds, and the people at John Hancock Mutual Fund treated me well. They were good, and I liked going to their information, and I had clients that invested in their managed portfolios. So, again, this is something that can build out, so we have to do it. This is what Mayor Brandon Johnson, the Cook County Board, the governor of Illinois should be working through and expanding these things. That's their job. And it goes international, working with the Federal Trade Commission and so on to help go national and global. So again, here's Schwab Center. Here you got your Charles Schwab office. And now the Schwab, should be looking to go 24/7 with their financial planners. Truly, it's the fastest growing segment, second and third shift. So, and that means the restaurants down here, it doesn't die at 5 p.m. And that means all these building values go way up. Because if these buildings have second and third shift working in it, that means the revenue that the building is generating inside the building is more, and the building's value appreciates. When the building goes idle and the revenue is not being drawn from the building, the rent rolls are based on the money that people can generate from that space. And so when the building can generate 3 shifts and they're down here and they can be, you can go between each exchange very quickly. My brother was originally, after he graduated from Northern Illinois University, he had a play for my brother Lair, who should have taken the investment tip, but he didn't. But he was a runner, and he used to run stocks. And paper stocks. He had to carry them from one firm to another. So somebody bought this many shares and physically running the shares from one firm to another. So that's what he did. He worked for some brokerage firm, I forget. But again, he did give my brother-in-law, even me, I realized at the table, he gave him a good tip, and I was just a young kid, but he didn't act upon it. And, you can lead somebody to water, but you can't make them drink. And, that's when people miss these opportunities. So again, you got the Federal Reserve right here too. And the Federal Reserve, and it's right across the street from the Board of Trade, the Chicago Board of Trade. But the Federal Reserve would be within the currency market, right? The Chicago Board of Trade moves all kinds of treasuries, and they move also municipal bonds, treasuries and municipal bonds. So the Federal Reserve does that. Then the mercantile moves currency futures and all that. So the Fed has a lot to do with those three exchanges. And so, again, this can expand incredibly, and it's not being done. And that's a shame, because everybody cries poor mouth, but all the money's there. The cup flows over. So, again, we really shouldn't be crying poor mouth. So, again, that's bad on our governor, bad on our county board, bad on the mayor of Chicago. So, if people are poor, it's all their fault, because they're the leaders and supposed to be leading them into the promised land. Truly, that's their responsibility of making, like Trump, the president of the United States, making everybody's life better off. So they're supposed to be leading them into the promised land. So again, if it's not going that way, it's all the leaders you choose. And if your life is tumbling in the incorrect, like mine, the heads roll. Upon my death, I believe that the federal government, the state, county, and local will all burn in eternal damnation for my pain and suffering. They're directly responsible for every negativity that has happened to me. And so they will all perish. So, listening to K-Love while I'm making this, but they will all perish. So the only reason that these things are happening is because of their ineptitude, their inabilities. So if they're true leaders, they're bringing people into the promised land and making the cup overflow. So I shouldn't be hearing people cry poor mouth. So again, either they're doing the right thing, but it seems like every day I hear everybody crying poor mouth, so they must be doing the wrong thing. But I'm going to end this video.